hero will never give up, never hide, never be defeated, and never accept evil. What anime am I referring to? Any takers? Kudos if you said Samurai Flamenco and didn't cheat. Otherwise, I wouldn't sweat it, because this one flew completely under the radar back in 2013, and it's not hard to figure out why. There were some fantastic anime that year, like Kill la Kill, The Devil is a Part-Timer, and Attack on Titan, which is not only one of my personal favorites, but is easily in contention as one of the GOATs when it comes to anime shows. Looking back, I distinctly remember how much I was looking forward to watching this one, but unfortunately that was all for naught. The first few episodes were incredibly boring, the main character was annoying, and the story was moving at a pace that even rivaled the loading times of Fallout 4. I called it quits and never looked back. Until 2022. That's because I started hearing and seeing more and more praise about this anime than ever before, whether it was in the form of some tweet or random meme, and it got me thinking, maybe I should give it another shot. Maybe time heals all wounds. So I did, and boy, what was I doing for the past 9 years. After suffering through that first arc, I breezed through the rest of the series, and let me tell you that I now can truly value what Samurai Flamenco has to offer. There is so much under the hood that makes this one brilliant, but at the same time, it's not an easy show to digest. So let's delve into the unexpected genius of Samurai Flamenco. Samurai Flamenco is an original anime series created by the now defunct Studio Ghibli, who was best known for creating another samurai anime that most people will say is far more superior. Set in modern-day Japan, the story revolves around 20-something model Masayoshi Haizama, who decides to become a real superhero despite having no superpowers. Since he was a little kid, he longed for this moment by watching tokusatsu programs on TV and imitating these heroes to the best of his ability. The first story arc chronicled his journey to becoming the titled vigilante, which was definitely not without struggles. Shouting at litter bugs, harassing a woman for putting her recyclables in the wrong place, which technically is par for the course in Japan, but still, he was nothing more than a public nuisance. One time he moved heaven and earth just to recover his friend's umbrella. With this track record, it's no wonder why he would recurrently get beat down and become the laughingstock of the city. My first time around, this was as far as I got, because I was literally bored to tears with the monotony, and that same feeling came flooding back to me like a wave in the perfect storm when I rewatched this arc the second time. Little did I know, just a few more episodes, things would start to change for the better. Haizama's crime-fighting skills were no longer causing more trouble for the police, and others started to help his cause, like the pragmatic policeman Hidenori Goto, his trusted confidant. We also have Miracle Muse, the successful pop idol group who dabble in the superhero biz whenever they feel up to it, under the apt title, The Flamenco Girls. Mizuki, Mari, and Moe all share widely different personalities, and it's hilarious to watch their mockingly take on the magical girl trope when it comes to taking down the bad guys. These are not the Sailor Scouts you know and love. They're brash, narcissistic, and approach the saving the world more like an awesome part-time job. Many liken this part to the Miller World comic-turned-movie Kick-Ass. While not compelling at first, when episode 7 hits, in the words of the illustrious comedy troupe Monty Python,
and now for something completely different.
Monsters like this guillotine-torsoed gorilla, snake with a wheel for legs, and whatever the heck this guy is, start wreaking havoc in the city. These ne'er-do-wells all work for King Torture, a mysterious being who wants to rule Japan. This is when the anime makes its first thematic shift from mediocre slice of life into a Kamen Rider-esque kind of show, where our protagonist defeats the baddies in good old Monster of the Week fashion. He also acquires a particular set of skills by gaining weapons like these, which you too can become your own superhero and buy these items for the low price of. After King Torture's defeat, which honestly left an odd taste in my mouth, Flamenco and friends are quickly thrust into a new big bad from beyond, an evil organization with the power to create monsters. Now, you probably figured out how Torture acquired his Monster in My Pocket collection in the first place. But we also learn that the Japanese government has long developed an underground defense organization called the Counter-Secret Organization Agency that researches new technology and builds state-of-the-art weapons for the sole purpose of defending the land of the rising sun. They even recruited Haizama to lead a scrappy team to do just this. Go power Flamengers! This is when the series makes its next thematic shift, this time into an obscurely self-aware Super Sentai series, and you can expect every single trope from the genre. Cheesy hero poses? Check. Make my monster grow? Check. Giant battle robot transformation sequence? Check. Villains blowing up? Check. Now this may seem like I gave away the entire story, but trust me when I say that we are just barely touching the surface. There are even more random characters, strange plot twists, comical fights, and bizarre storylines that'll make the timey-wimey look like basic mathematics. If you want to know the rest, then start watching and experience the juicy details for yourself. You'll probably end up with a bunch of questions and maybe question your own sanity. Lord knows I did, but my only disappointment is that there were no more episodes to consume and revisit this wacky world. Or was there? Samurai Flamenco Another Days is an 11-chapter tankobon that takes place after the events of the show. You'll get more screen time with your favorite characters, including digestible recaps of the anime, plus new content like the long-awaited Christmas episode, and time traveling to feudal Japan because why not? Another Days does give those flamenco fanboys a chance to revisit their favorite quirky world, which is why I would highly advise you to watch the anime before reading this. Also know that Another Days is not exactly required reading, even if you've already watched the series. The quantity of new content is not overwhelming and barely amounts to a few fun side stories. Think of it like the game Sonic Lost World, where you can buy a DLC that'll give you 25 extra lives. Just because it's available doesn't mean that it's necessary. Samurai Flamenco's story may feel like it was thrown together like a bad book report, but if you look past the craziness, and there is a lot, you'll find a simple tale of a person following their dreams. While this anime is very creative, what keeps you engaged is the unpredictability, and funny little quips sprinkled throughout the show. For example, Haizama is fighting one of King Torture's monsters in the middle of the city, and you'd think people would be screaming all over the place because monsters. Except no, everyone is moving along, minding their business because they've seen enough of them that monsters are just old news. Heck, even the flamenco girls failed to show up to battle because they were bored of the same old fights. Now that's clever writing. I also want to point out how Manga went balls to the wall with their story direction, because shows like this one are a true rarity. It's risky creating original anime, which is why studios prefer to create adaptations from established manga titles, because there are higher chances of success. Manga was one of the few studios to consistently produce original works. Unfortunately, because of the high costs to develop and the lack of popularity, they accumulated massive debt and were forced to shut down in 2015. Even though it ultimately didn't work out, I'll always appreciate what they tried to accomplish and feel more studios need to add this element to their stories. Now, it's a mixed bag when it comes to the characters in the series. First, we get very little backstory besides the two main characters, which makes sense. There are only 22 episodes and they have a story to tell, but there are so many interesting people in this universe we need to learn more of. The manga tries to address some, but it's nowhere near enough. Another issue I have with the show is how one-dimensional these characters are, and it stays that way for much of the show. Thankfully, we do get some character depth, mostly with Haizama and Goto, as the episodes progress, once they face their personal demons in unexpected ways. One thing I really like is how authentic and realistic the characters' personalities are, and I'm sure you know someone like each person from this anime, like the one who seems super confident but deep down is very insecure, or someone who constantly has a bleak outlook on life. Even the villains in the series have a modicum of relatability, as some of their motives come from somewhat good intentions. The music screams early 2000s, like the days when you jam to every new OP of Naruto. Just One Life by Spy Air and Flow's I, Ni Utaret Bye 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 are poster childs of this era, with solid guitar riffs and catchy vocals that'll have you probably fist pumping in the air. Also, big shout out to the creators of the first OP for truly subverting any expectation of what's to come after episode 7. In the intro, you'll notice Haizama dreams of himself as Samurai Flamenco, defeating an evil robot, and then wakes up and rushes to work. There was never any clue to thinking this show would be anything more than a fever dream. This is how you do it, guys. Well done. The EPs of this show are sung by the girls in Mineral Miracle Muse, and while they are kawaii tracks, there's nothing to write home about. But I will say the Flamengers theme is absolutely epic, and definitely gives Bleach's #1 vibes. Da 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 da. Now I compare the world building to a Fat Boy ice cream sandwich, where the fantastical locations and crazy situations taste like the yummy cookies and cream in the middle. The 2 chocolate breads on the outside resemble the rest of the world, and it's pretty plain Jane, to be honest. No different than ours. Personally, I think when it comes to world building, they did as much as they could get away with, because their true focus was to make this show as insane as possible. Now, if that was the case, then mission accomplished. After all, a world like Hunter x Hunter or One Piece takes a lot of time and effort to flesh out, and you just don't see enough of that here. So the animation is not breathtaking, but it's a pretty solid anime, especially one made in the early 2010s. There is no English dub, so you'll have to watch it in the original subbed format. And that may not be a problem for most of you, but I did want to point that out. Also, you can find Samurai Flamenco on Funimation, which is barely hanging on by a thread, I know, but until it makes its eventual move to Crunchyroll, you can still find it here, and a few other gems I'll probably do videos on. Samurai Flamenco is a flawed yet bold series that constructs a story in a way you rarely see in anime, not to mention the timely jokes and exciting moments. They even answer a lingering question I had since episode 5. You know, it's funny to think of how close I came to never fully experiencing this anime, but I'm glad I did, and you will too. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already by clicking that platypus to keep up with my latest and greatest. You know you wanna. Oh, and one more thing. Don't forget to stay nerdious.